Welcome everyone, it's your boy Hardcorn, and today we're back with even more Taimanins. This time we're going further into the retrospective and taking a look at Taimanin Asagi 2. We're in for something special today as the sequel brings a lot more to the table in every aspect. So let's sit back, relax, and get a grip on ourselves as we take a look at the sequel everybody wanted. We begin the story with Asagi giving us an overview of where we're at. It's been a year since the events of the Chaos Arena, and life moves on like it never happened. A city comes into view. This is Tokyo Kingdom, a place created by the Japanese government as a sort of mecca for business off the shore of Honshu. After failure to attract businesses, the lack of funding caused the subway tunnels to be unfinished, eventually leading to government abandonment. Like any abandoned place, over time it begins to attract criminals. Human criminals, demon criminals, fugitives, prostitutes, immigrants, it didn't matter. They took the trip across the 10-kilometer bridge or found another way onto the island. This meeting of lifestyles and ideas all comes together on the island of Tokyo Kingdom. This collusion of humans and demons certainly goes against the mutual non-intervention that's been in place. Humans and demons were not to interact, but obviously there are those who see otherwise. This is how demon gangs and organizations began to take form and find a foothold. This is where our beloved Taimanins come in, a government-created organization that is designed to push back against the demonic menace. We then go from Asagi's head and onto the streets of Tokyo Kingdom. The lovely sisters are on duty looking vigilant to whatever may come their way. There are no explicit laws in the city, just ones between others. As we're walking along, Sakura stops. She's wary of what's going on as she feels several strong, evil presences just in the area. Finally, seeing Sakura on duty, we get to see her take it seriously, which is actually pretty nice. It's right for Sakura that thinking the place is odd, but Asagi reassures her that it's just some low-class demons. Those presences will be everywhere, but not outwardly aggressive. The sisters make their way down the avenue and eventually make their way to the small apartment. After securing it, Sakura is berated by Asagi for not using call signs. And Sakura, being her goofy self, agrees to change, and Asagi then takes out a little laptop. This laptop, while being a plot device for communication, shows just how far our Taimanins have gone from even just the year previous. We're met with the person behind such modernizations, Nobushige Yamamoto. Asagi first gives us the read-over for the investigation report about the Chaos Arena. To no surprise, it was a government-controlled / funded organization. The real reason for the existence of such a horrible place was to actually teach the Taimanins a lesson and suppress their recklessness, because our bratty Taimanins are in such need of correction. Denizens of the arena, especially government bureaucrats, saw how strong and capable the Taimanins are even in such horrible circumstances. Our man here, Yamamoto, was given control of the Taimanins. He's from the Japan Defense Agency, so it makes sense for him to be given a detachment of extremely dangerous people. Being from the defense sector, he saw just how capable the Taimanins are, and also how under-equipped. This now begins a small but important detail that gets taken for granted. The Taimanins become militarized. From tactics to tech, it all gets integrated. Now their intelligence and communications improve substantially along with their combat capabilities. Yamamoto has his reservations about this case, and we learn now that 3 Taimanin have possibly been killed in the Tokyo Kingdom case already. Communications have been lost with them for over a week now. The 3 men were investigating a possible terror organization in Tokyo Kingdom when they went missing. The sisters need to go in there and get some info. This takes us to an age-old trope about the series. You may have heard the bit from Taimanin Asagi where they're just flat out We're gonna go undercover as prostitutes. What could possibly go wrong? This comes from this, and really, even before. The world's oldest profession is not only good at making money, it also gathers information very well. Asagi goes over to a closet and pulls out a pair of streetwalker uniforms. She orders Sakura to put on the dress, and Asagi does just. Sakura obviously has reservations since this is her first time she's really done this. Our newfound working girls step out into the night. It's a bit chilly, but you'd really feel anything in their getups. We see Sakura in her outfit, uncomfortable and confused that her own sister would have her wear something like this. Asagi, on the other hand, is spouting information and confident as can be, like she's done this plenty of times. She explains to Sakura that she's gotta be tactful and say things that'll get her into private areas. But Sakura can't help herself and looks over Asagi. She calls her slutty and then runs off playfully. This causes Asagi to reminisce about how just a year ago, her and Sakura just lost Kyosuke. A small note, but it's her stealing the resolve to keep Sakura safe, so that she doesn't lose another loved one at the hands of evil. Night falls and the market streets come alive. Demons and humans are mingling just like it's another day. Asagi, seeing it happen before her eyes, leaves her taken aback and feeling uncomfortable. Here comes concealed carry Asagi out here in the hood. The idea of hell creatures being slowly normalized comes from the Chaos Arena being exposed. Asagi and the Taimanins have been fighting for a long time against the demonic menace to protect humans, yet here they are living together. So she's a little bitter about seeing the work she's dedicated her life, and so many others have as well, being washed away by government intervention. She's in a terrible situation and her sister is subject to the same, and her ideals are challenged all the way around. She'd kill them all if she had the chance. Because Asagi is all wrapped up in her head, she doesn't notice Sakura talking all the way. Sakura calls Asagi Big Sis, but then corrects herself to Captain. Asagi gets frustrated again and takes it out on Sakura by conflicting her information by telling her to call her Big Sis in public like this. And then Sakura just goes over and hits her with a "you mad" sort of face, and Asagi gets all annoyed. Which leads to the best line in the entire series that sums up the Sakura experience. Asagi leaves in a huff, and the sisters head into town. They arrive into town, and Asagi is surprised at the public order that these cretins have. Groups of people were arriving and looking like they're visiting establishments to get on with some local talent. A man approaches Asagi. Seeing her, of course, dressed like a working girl, he asks for some services. Our guy is a little intoxicated and also out of place as a middle manager, so Asagi doesn't put out and brush him off, leaving him. Unbeknownst to her, Sakura sees this happen and takes this as a lesson. She appears before Asagi and says what just happened. This causes Asagi to get caught off guard. This is actually a neat aspect. Asagi can't detect Sakura when she's sneaking through shadows. Asagi gets possessive of Sakura and tells her not to run off, when in reality, Sakura is more than capable. The sisters continue down the street and head to a bar. Asagi works the crowd and finds out a few things. The dope dealers and armed gangs are on the outskirts, which leads into who runs the island, the Ryumon. Sadly, nothing turns up about our missing Taimanins. A man approaches Asagi as a John and tries talking to her, but has a noticeable Chinese accent which raises an eyebrow for Asagi. The guy keeps hounding her and Asagi denies him all the time. She's focused on where Sakura's at because they need to get on the move again. She can't sense her and starts thinking out loud. Asagi starts to leave and the guy gets mad at Asagi's insistent denials. He follows her and Asagi trips the man, making him faceplant. An hour passes and she can't find Sakura. Asagi's worried sick and she notices an angry familiar man who brought some friends. It's our Chinese guy from earlier and he's mad Asagi made a fool out of him, so they're going to take revenge by sexually assaulting her. Asagi tries to coerce them to take it to an alley where she can just go beat them up. However, they want to make an example out of her in front of all those at the market. Not wanting to blow her cover, she lets the men have their way. During this scene, we learn that Asagi is still suffering from the effects of Oboro's 3000 times sensitivity remodeling. The assault starts getting her hot, and she starts losing control of her faculties. Just before one of the thugs gets it in, a mysterious force from the shadows gives all the guys some real ballbusters, sending them to the ground. Asagi is taken aback at this development, but the crowd of people around just see some dudes on the ground. Sakura then tells Asagi to escape. Asagi gets out, and the crowd disperses, and it's back to business as usual. Asagi has escaped back near the hideout with Sakura. Asagi stops off to the side and is out of breath and a total mess. Because of the assault from earlier, her nerves are on fire with lust. All this time, Asagi has been suppressing the sensitivity through force of will. Sakura takes medicine that can weaken the effects, but Asagi wants to tough it out even though she's just barely brushed her shoulder and is about to gush on the concrete. Asagi composes herself enough to berate Sakura for running off and then asks her if she's found anything. Sakura didn't get much besides being felt up using her sister's information gathering techniques and beating up a few people. Sakura, thinking Asagi will get mad, is surprised when her sister just passes it off with, "Well, I guess it can't be helped." With the night Asagi's had, she's glad someone got to knock those sleazy guys down a few pegs. The sisters share a moment of solidarity that helps bolster each other, and then they head back to the hideout. Asagi wakes up the next morning and tries to get Sakura up. She's frustrated that her kid sister isn't a morning person. Through introspection, it reveals that she's much more frustrated at the fact that she has to bring her greenhorn sister along due to the losses of more veteran Taimanin. Asagi heads to the computer to make a report about what they learned. During the report, we meet Kurou, Asagi's right-hand man. Not only is she professional with him, they're very good friends. Kurou is the poster boy for male Taimanin, as he was a late bloomer to unlock his powers, which gives men hope in a woman-dominated field. The strength to Asagi's dexterity. Now comes the part that's boring, but extremely lore important. We enter Geopolitics. The reason the Ryumon has such strong control on Tokyo Kingdom is due to them owning the island. The company, Ryumon Capital, bought the island with the funding from Chinese Union. The Chinese Union comprises of China, Southeast and Central Asia, and Korea. That's just one half of the world though. We learned that good old Eddie Black might be working with the Americans, specifically the American Pacific Federation, a cooperative body under a trusteeship that governs portions of Korea, Taiwan, Southeast Asia, and both North and South America. China and America have been at odds for many years, going back to the Taiwan conflict, when China invaded there. This caused Japan to also participate due to a treaty with the US. Both sides trying to avoid a fight in Taiwan, they fought nearby in the waters. China started to lose some ground when more Southeast Asia countries backed America, so China invades Okinawa to escalate, which then to retaliate, a coup is staged by bombing Beijing. China gets rattled by this, and the European Union negotiates a ceasefire. But wait, Russia had helped China suppress their coup, so it was in the best interest to keep this ceasefire so that Russia doesn't get involved. You gotta love it. It's great stuff reading back the recent events for Taimanin Europa Universalis. Yamamoto now urges strongly that Asagi has to find the 3 missing Taimanins at all costs, because they are supposedly a traitor among us leaking information. This needs to be resolved quickly. The connection closes and Asagi gets up and mobilizes Sakura. They need more info about the Ryumon, so they pay a visit to a doctor in the area that knows about urinary tract problems. They find the local doctor, and it's one of the guys that called out to Asagi yesterday. He's not exactly very happy. Asagi tries to ask him some questions, but he's still a bit sore that his pride and ego were shattered by a woman. Taking a swing at her, Asagi decides to hit him in the air and into a wall. Sakura and Asagi proceed to torture and harass this man, and then the man reveals that the Taimanins they're searching for are dead. Asagi diminishes his statement, hits him in the balls again, ties him up in an abandoned building, and heads back to the hideout with a disgusted Sakura. As the sisters walk back, Asagi senses danger. She can't pinpoint at where it's at, but feels the presence of something strong within the crowd. They continue to the market, ever vigilant. Arriving there, the presence follows. Asagi feels the surge again and turns around to see a young girl standing in this den of evil. Sakura finally notices it as well. This girl makes her way to the sisters and introduces herself as Saya. A side note in the fact that Saya actually making it as a character with the details and development in Action Taimanin and RPGX of all things was really nice to see. They certainly didn't forget about her. It's obviously suspicious that a girl as young as Saya is here in a place like this. Saya briefly compliments Asagi before leaving. Asagi then chases after her. It turns out to be a fruitless endeavor as Saya then disappears without a trace, leaving Asagi dumbfounded. The sisters take concerned effort to make sure they aren't tailed and sneak back into the hideout. Asagi then talks to the chief about her findings, but before she can really get going, Yamamoto orders a retreat. The sisters are to meet up at the big bridge with Kurou and regroup. The reason for this is due to the data being compromised from a Trojan horse attack. The staff checked out where the attack possibly had come from, and it ends up in the Chinese Union. Asagi and the chief think about how all this could have occurred, and Japan's diminished role in this Cold World War. They get back to the matter, and Asagi's hideout was part of the data stolen. There is no doubt that they will be encroached soon. Asagi and Sakura feel the presence of murderous individuals and prepare to move. Time passes, and we see the perspective of the soldiers in the hall. They're stacked up, and at the command, the charges placed on the door were activated, blowing it inward. An assassination unit arrives in the door. They're not some ragtag group of gangsters. These guys are from internal Ryumon. Their equipment speaks volumes. High-tech helmets and visors, vests capable of taking multiple rounds of small arms fire, and high-quality weapons and gear that certainly aren't Chinese-made. Somebody is helping these guys. The soldiers sweep the room, taking care not to miss anything. Finding nothing, they even ask the guard watching the room if the Taimanin had left. Asagi's computer was still on in another part of the room, catching the attention of the soldiers. Kurou is on screen telling us he's going to be running late. He sees the soldiers and taunts them long enough for the sisters to break the windows and jump out. With Kurou's countdown to destruction, an explosion clears the room, blowing up walls and people inside. The sisters fall to the ground as another explosion behind them occurs, presumably for the munitions going up in flames. The sisters hit the ground as people start taking notice of the fire and explosions around them. They prepare to leave before too much attention gets onto them. However, an unknown powerful force makes an appearance at the worst possible time. A new, powerful demon has arrived, one that can mask his presence just like Saya can. He's one tough customer and a different breed of demons from those on the island. His name is Sokushitsuki, the name of a Hindu demon called the Rakshasa. Ravenous folk who seek battle with those who are strong, and who else to be his target but Asagi. Asagi knows this is going to be trouble and commands Sakura to head to the bridge without her. Sakura reluctantly escapes, leaving Asagi to face off against Sokushitsuki. Big Boy here has zero involvement with what's going on with the kidnappings. He just wants to fight Asagi. Exuding a surge of power, the danger rises so much that even civilians can see that it's bad news and go back inside. Sokushitsuki unsheathes his blade and begins the insidious assault. Asagi has met her match as his strikes are constantly meeting hers. Asagi has certainly rested on her speed for overwhelming her enemies, so something contesting her so hard is surprising. They continue to fight. Sokushitsuki's oppressive strikes eventually push Asagi back. In this opening, he strikes with single sword style, Crimson Lotus Flower. A series of sword beams assail Asagi. She parries them all, but not without exerting herself so harshly. Asagi's parries and strikes may have looked like she was on the back foot, but she was actually trying to damage his blade to break it. The impacts become too much as the sword shatters and Asagi slices the enemy before her. Sokushitsuki takes a knee and is severely injured. Asagi then flies back, but is struck by a small needle. a passing pain but raises questions about what could have been on it. Asagi then escapes to continue the journey to the bridge. When she leaves, Sokushitsuki's wounds begin healing rapidly. A broken sword lies before him, but the thrill of battle drives him forward to escape and recover for another battle. We're now at the docks. Sakura is fighting off some Ryumon men to meet up at the rendezvous point at the bridge nearby. Sakura waits and then sees Saya appear in a Taimanin outfit. Sakura didn't sense her at all, and seeing her in that outfit puts Sakura immediately on guard. Saya then mentions Sakura by name, and it frazzles her. Saya unsheathes her blade and starts attacking Sakura. Scared and knows she can't leave, Sakura takes a stand against the horror before her. Saya makes her regret that choice. We then cut to Asagi arriving on scene. Still thinking about what could have been on the needle, those thoughts are cut off at the meetup point where we see Saya has defeated Sakura. We learn that Saya is our killer and that she works for Oboro. Of course, Asagi gets furious about hearing about Oboro and prepares to correct the bratty evil before her. Saya gets pumped from the danger and changes into her true form, a heavily modified spider tentacle beast. Asagi, preparing to battle, notices a convoy heading down the bridge. Assuming it's Kurou, Asagi weighs between fighting or scooping Sakura and escaping. Saya realizes that Asagi is trying to stall and make a play until reinforcements arrive, so Saya makes it that those reinforcements will never arrive by blowing up the bridge. An immense loss of life occurs. Asagi cries out for Kurou, hoping he's okay, but in her mind, fearful of the outcome. Asagi strikes out against Saya, beginning the battle. A series of fierce blows between the two shake the docks and warehouses. Asagi dodges deftly and strikes at Saya, causing great damage. But Saya smirks and heals her wounds immediately. Asagi gave it her all to decide the battle, but is left vulnerable. Saya knows just that and folds in crisis to mercilessly beat Asagi until passing out. Time keeps on slipping as Asagi's vision opens up to a war-torn battlefield sometime in the past. She's heavy and tired and continues to walk around to figure out what's up. The feeling of familiarity crosses her mind as she walks through the field until she comes upon a pile of corpses. These were both human and demon corpses in this pile. Many of the dead had their skulls crushed or their limbs torn off. Whatever did this had to be cruel and strong. When investigating this pile, something at the top of it catches her eye. A mysterious voice on the wind makes its way to Asagi's ears, lamenting friends lost but wars won. The voice makes its claim, and a being emerges from the pile. It's Kyosuke! Asagi is elated to see him, but realizes that seeing him again means she's probably dead. Crying out for answers, the shadow on the pile comes down and engulfs Asagi in darkness. Asagi feels something merging within herself. A sense of oneness, perhaps? She feels something caress her cheek. Freaked out, she asks, "Who are you?" We're then met with a demon that looks just like Asagi herself. The demon claims that someone is trying to get Asagi and this demon to fuse together through external means, just like the poison hitting her. Asagi is very confused and can't comprehend what the demon is saying. The demon leaves with a remark about how the demon is actually her and to use it accordingly. Pressure from the darkness overwhelms Asagi, and more time passes. Asagi wakes up in some facility, confused at where she's at and just what was that dream. Asagi takes to moving, but finds herself bound to a wall of flesh. Next to her is Sakura, fastened in the same way. Relieved that she's still alive, but fearful of what the future lies ahead. Asagi reminisces about what could have been, to which Saya then re-enters the room to inform Asagi what's going to happen. Most importantly is that Saya and the leader are going to have their revenge against Asagi. Saya taunts the sisters by talking about the implements to be used on them, but Asagi then asks to speak to the manager because obviously Saya is not running the show. The moment she asks that, the door opens. A voice from the other side makes itself known, and it's Oboro. I like to imagine that Oboro was about to go in earlier and was waiting for the best opportunity to make an entrance as shocking as possible. Asagi is certainly shocked because she's killed her twice at this point. Our new Oboro here knows Asagi has questions, so she has Saya bring in a storage vessel. Inside is the contents of what remains of the original Oboro. At this point comes a simple but extremely important idea that's going to be driving a lot of the series from this point. Cloning technology in the Timeverse is something that is constantly improving over time. At the events of TA2, cloning technology by humans was reaching a plateau. Growth could not get past a certain point with the methods at hand. By employing the power of demons, humans were now able to play God and create fully functional clones. Clone Oboro and Saya are the results of that. Saya even employs mechanical features alongside being a little bit of a homunculus. The ability to make perfect clones that are not only strong and durable can be used in many industries and other facets. Japan has harnessed this technology and the Chinese Union wants it that badly. The Chinese want this, the Americans want this, everybody does. The clones and replication technology become a driving force for the series after the events of Taimanin Asagi 2. Nomad technology was stolen and taken to this facility so that it can be studied and used to make more clones. This was Oboro's original goal, but thanks to Asagi killing her, original Oboro lost it and seek revenge, forgetting about her mission. It's story convenient, but that's clones for ya. Clone Oboro is made from the original Oboro remnants, but without the anger and loss of a goal. Oboro then talks about Saya and how she's made from ninjas who awaken their potential, taking their latent demonic power inside them as one to awaken their ability. Oboro then remarks that Asagi has that demon inside too. It's all about if she will accept its power or not though. Asagi does not like this idea at all and forces Oboro to change the subject. Oboro then details that the strength of the clones can be dictated by the soul used. The stronger the soul is, the better the clones. Clone Oboro wants Asagi's almighty soul at all costs. Obviously, Asagi is going to fight against this for sure. Clone Oboro is going to wear down Asagi through various forms of remodeling torture to get her to succumb to the demon inside. When that finally happens, Clone Oboro is going to make the weakened Asagi's soul for her using her own benefit. Sakura is then injected with poison. This poison will increase in dosage each time Asagi refuses to be remodeled. Asagi does not want her sister to die, so with a heavy heart, Asagi accepts the remodeling. The nightmare begins again. Asagi is constantly resisting while being sexually assaulted, yet her efforts are futile. A lone prayer escapes her lips as she hopes that at least her buddy Kurou is in a better place. We then cut to the docks on the island. A man emerges from the water, tired and hurt. It's Kurou. Our man's alright after all. Well, alright is questionable due to having explosives and a bridge falling on him. They really wanted him dead. He investigates the area trying to find anybody alive. This is the spot he was supposed to meet the sisters after all. Not finding anything, he prepares to call Asagi and see what's good, but he feels the presence of a powerful evil. Kurou then turns to see Sokushitsuki. Both are surprised to see each other, but Soku is here itching to fight another Taimanin. He wants Kurou's body specifically, but Kurou is not going down without a fight. Sokushitsuki unsheathes his blade, but isn't even given a moment to process his next move. Kurou sends a fist into the armor-clad stomach and unsheathes his big knife to stab into the arm. A simple series of strikes takes out the already wounded Sokushitsuki. With Kurou's mighty boot on his enemy, he interrogates the demon. This gives Sokushitsuki the opportunity as he grips Kurou's leg. Taking advantage of an emotionally compromised Kurou, Sokushitsuki coerces his enemy to shoot him in the face. On death, Sokushitsuki's body expels a gas. Thanks to the corpse maintaining a grip, Kurou could not escape. The gas takes him over, stripping him of his body, but not his mind. A voice rings out in the darkness of the mind, stating that the worst is yet to come. We then return to the underground facility. Asagi is being tortured again at the hands of Clone Oboro and Saya. After a session, Saya wants to have a knack at it with Sakura. Oboro then has Sakura taken off the wall and is put into Saya's room so she can do horrible things to her. Asagi will then be moved as well. Once freed from the restraints of the flesh wall, Asagi jumps into action. She fights off the pleasure with pure strength and kills the 2 men pulling her out of the wall immediately. A guard notices Asagi making her move and prepares to shoot, but Asagi gets him with a solid strike to the chest, instantly killing him. Asagi wastes no time and heads straight for Oboro and kicks her straight in the face. Oboro is down, but not out, as the waves of pleasure come back and weaken Asagi just as she's about to deal the final blow. Asagi loses the opportunity as Oboro recovers, repositions, and starts choking out Asagi. Asagi, of course, having the remodeling done, it just makes about anything that happens to her pleasurable. So, Asagi steals the victory from Oboro by enjoying the choking until she passes out. Oboro then has Asagi taken to the flesh room. The flesh room is special. It's a living being alongside being a place for horrible things to happen. A lot of bad things happen here that can't be shown, so I'll tell some lore important details. Asagi is bound and has a parasite inserted into her body to control her. This is the same parasite that is in many of the prostitutes on the island, so that they are subservient to clone Oboro. Next, 20 guys come in and have their way with Asagi. A couple of the guys in there are people who Asagi and Sakura beat up, pretty badly too. Thanks to demon technology, all their junk works again and they use it. After having a train run on her, Asagi still holds out hope. Clone Oboro then taunts her, saying that the other Taimanins aren't coming. Nomad influence in the government has bought the politicians and people in control of the Taimanins. Asagi and Sakura have been abandoned. At the moment, it really seems hopeless. To top it all off, Saya off-screen has defeated Edwin Black. A little girl like her taking out someone like him is no joke. Imagine if they clone her. Asagi has to put a stop to this, but doesn't know how to. Clone Oboro summons a series of sex demons and takes her leave. Asagi is then surrounded, as we then cut to Sakura. Sakura is in a concrete room with Saya. Saya lets loose a series of tentacles to bind and sexually assault Sakura. This continues for a while as we then cut back to Asagi, still being assaulted. After hours of agony, Asagi then loses consciousness. We then return to the battlefield of dreams. Asagi wonders about the place, but those thoughts are interrupted by the Shadow. The Shadow calls out Asagi about realizing her potential, but Asagi still doesn't know or really even accept this Shadow. Shadow then realizes that if words won't work, action will. Striking out at Asagi, causing her to be on the defensive, will make Asagi come to a decision whether she likes it or not. The two clash, and whatever Asagi does, her Shadow follows up like she's reading her mind, all while the Shadow taunts Asagi. Then, the Shadow remembers the heat of battle and the bloodlust of a demon. Even with Asagi being so righteous and haughty, as a purveyor of justice, she cannot help the internal desire for battle. The Shadow drops a bombshell about how the secret to all ninja power is that it comes from demons. The same demons that Asagi finds so disgusting, the same demons that she's been fighting to keep humans from, turn out to be the source of her power along with all Taimanins. The two continue to fight as the Shadow is working to awaken the strength within Asagi to fight like a demon. The moment is realized and the dream ends. We return to Asagi being assaulted again. Her being in this disgusting hell of a place, being dug out by demons and humans alike, has taken an incredible toll on her. She's tired of it all and finally gives in. Hours and hours of orgasms come at her like waves as she is tortured. We then go to the concrete room with Oboro and Saya. The two of them discuss the torture of the sisters. We then go to Sakura in the corner, who is being assaulted. After that finishes, Sakura is then tied up, blindfolded, and collared to be taken to her sister. Sakura, who hates this all so much, but she hates even more that the shining beacon of heroism that is her sister has to be subjected to this. If it was only just Sakura subjected to all this in the first place, she would have hopelessly died. Just like with the Chaos Arena, because they're together, they have something to hold on to. We return to Asagi, who is alone in the flesh room. Nobody is doing anything to her for once, so she cherishes the moment. It doesn't last long before the Shadow appears before her. Asagi once again is resisting its presence, so the Shadow tries negotiating again. It has learned to become just and evil due to its experiences within Asagi. Asagi hates such a twisted and irrational world, but her sense of justice helps carry her on to correct it. Discovering that nothing is absolute is truly a beautiful thing. Shadow sees a hopeful future. However, Asagi has already resignated to defeat. Shadow reminds her that time will come when you'll fully awaken to the power. The conditions won't be ideal, but you will be saved. The shadow then disappears with that thought in Asagi's head. Oboro arrives and breaks the monologue. Asagi then begs for forgiveness. Sakura is then led in by Saya and several guards to make sure what happened earlier won't happen again. Asagi is surprised at Sakura's appearance, happy in the first place that she's still alive, but unable to accept the reality before her that her sister is bound and ravaged in such a disgusting state. If Sakura was subjected to the same sex demons as Asagi, she'd be pretty much dead. Asagi then kisses Oboro's feet in forgiveness, having to clean up all the mess on them. When the work is done, Asagi is then collared and set up the same as her sister. Then, they leave the area and head outside, the desire to survive still inside. We are now at the final scene of the game, the courtyard of the Ryuman Central Building. Many have gathered for Oboro's big show. It's out of the ordinary since it's not a Chinese holiday, so it's gotta be something special. Oboro arrives and it's quite a commotion actually. Soon afterward, Asagi and Sakura appear. Both are bound and dirty as can be. Such paragons of justice treated this way meant they had to lose at some point. Oboro makes her exclamations regarding that the sisters are going to be working girls under Ryuman control. The sisters exclaim such and name their prices. For the next 3 days, they are sexually assaulted in various positions and configurations by hundreds of people. After a series of terrible events, Asagi and Sakura are left to ruminate over the horrors. A tired Asagi starts to dissociate, and the shadow appears. It taunts Asagi as she sits in the stocks, covered in filth and disgusted at her own visage. The shadow tells Asagi that soon the time will come when they will unite. Asagi wants to believe, but her tired mind could really care less at the moment. Oboro and Saya appear to check on the sisters after 3 days of displeasure. Disappointed that Asagi still has some fight left in her, with the ability to insult and resist, Oboro lets the sisters out of the stocks. Disgusted at the resistance, she steps on Asagi's head to remind her of where she belongs. All to the dismay of a scared Sakura. Asagi just can't take it anymore and exclaims to Oboro that she just wants to end it all, on the condition that Sakura is let go. Oboro will allow it, but Asagi has to decapitate herself just like she did with the original Oboro. Saya fetches Asagi's gear and throws the sword to the broken ninja. Oboro lets Asagi know that through suicide, a demon can enter the body due to the body-soul dynamic being disrupted through that action. When the demon implants itself, it will overwrite the previous personality. It's pretty much how Saya came to be in her current form. The worm in Asagi's body is beginning to anticipate some action and writhes inside her. Oboro has Saya and her men stand up the sisters and undress them, giving them a new set of clothes for at least some dignity in death, though they are soaked with the juices of hundreds of men. She's gotta get that last dig in there, you know? Asagi positions herself on the ground, preparing to inform her body that the head and neck are getting a divorce. Sakura writhes and complains as she tries to hobble over to her sister. Saya holds her back, taking off the blindfold so Sakura can see every last grisly detail. Asagi, before her sister, has the blade on her neck, coolly and quietly moments away from certain death. Sakura cries out, not wanting to lose another loved one and leave her alone on this wretched island. Oboro egging on Asagi all the way. During Oboro's claims, Sakura has a realization. She has fought countless times with her sister and recognizes that composed breathing and that solid demeanor, Asagi has not yet given up the fight. Just like the Chaos Arena, the sisters are playing up the event, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. With Oboro's last demand, Asagi begins. A swift strike causes a spray of blood to burst forth from Asagi. It's not from her neck though, it's from her stomach. Asagi has stabbed herself in the gut to kill the worm inside that saps her strength through orgasms. Oboro realizes she's been played again and makes a hasty retreat. Asagi pulls the sword from her body and leaps to Oboro, dealing a heavy blow. It's sadly not enough, but it certainly will slow her down. Saya sees Oboro in trouble, so she transforms into her demon form, launching spear tentacles and stabbing Asagi. Saya prepares for another volley to finish off Asagi, but something gets in the way at the last moment. Asagi turns and it's Sakura, pierced precariously by Saya's tentacles. Through Sakura's shadow ninja arts, she made it just in time to save her sister. Sakura, looking like a pincushion, lays dying in front of her sister. She puts on a brave face, taking the blows for her sister. Saya then prepares to finish the both of them off. The tentacles fly through the air with Saya, but in those final moments, a voice calls out to Asagi. "This is your anger, and now it is my anger." Through the suffering of Sakura, Asagi's rage has awakened the demon inside, causing them both to unite and become one. A roar explodes from Asagi as powerful energy destroys the incoming tentacles, turning them into dust. Another roar bellows forth as the energy increases, crushing concrete and floating debris. This is the power that Oboro wished to get a hold of through all the torture and eventual suicide. Sakura passes out, causing Asagi's rage to grow even further. Windows break, people run away, and Asagi's outward appearance is now one with the demon. Asagi screams to Saya, marking her for death. Saya sees this as finally some real competition. Asagi approaches like a raging storm, Saya attacking all the way. Not a single strike could even come close, as Saya's appendages disintegrate from Asagi's rage alone. Asagi slams into Saya, knocking her back hard and fast. Saya in the air tries to send more projectiles, but nothing is touching this raging eggplant. Asagi decides this in a single blow, smashing Saya into a wall and piercing her chest with the demonic talons, destroying the heart. Saya, stuck to the wall, says to Asagi that Sakura will not die. Thanks to the location struck by Saya, Sakura will be in pain but live. Saya, bleeding out, wishes to have played with Sakura more, hopefully in a better light than the one we had now. There is no demon, there is no rogue Taimanin, it is just a little girl who wanted a friend. Saya starts slowing down, yearning for rest. With the last of her energy, she asks if Asagi is mad at her. With Asagi saying that she isn't, Saya attempts to say something about Sakura, but her time on this mortal coil has come to an end. She glows in a blue light, eventually dissipating like a dying vampire. Asagi, angered at the loss of someone who did not deserve this, looked to Oboro to finish the retribution. All Asagi could do at the time was scream, as Oboro had escaped during the battle. We then cut to Oboro, bleeding out and very bitter. She is trying to make her escape to the tunnels, plotting all the way. She reaches the entrance of the tunnel. She feels the presence of somebody there and calls out. Kurou comes into view, or is it? Kurou is making claims about how the island is done for, and Clone Oboro here ended up as bait to get Asagi. Clone Oboro here feels that something just isn't right. Kurou reveals that he isn't who he actually is. I appreciate that woman's true strength, but she is not my accomplice. Now who could ever say that, right? Another voice chimes in, and it's all too familiar. Original Oboro appears. Clone Oboro is as shocked as can be, and then taken aback at the fact the original is now a vampire too. The clone knows too much, and Oboro lops her head off in a single strike. Oboro is back, and relishes in a fresh kill before escaping as we're taken to the docks. It all begins winding down. It's evening time and the setting sun is dotted with helicopters working to secure the island. Asagi stares at a lone chopper as it is carrying Sakura away for medical treatment. Chief Yamamoto is on scene, directing people so that they can secure the island and look for more information. Asagi is to stay on standby to help out Yamamoto. I do appreciate that they gave her a fresh suit, and even better is that the note that Asagi has gotten bigger even after all of her torture. All Asagi can really do now is think about her sister. Trying to take her mind off of it all, she starts thinking about some other aspects, like how, in the span of a few hours, all the Chinese Union personnel were killed and all the labs were demolished. It almost feels like someone was in the know and got a head start on erasing details. Yamamoto gives Asagi the good news that Sakura is in hospital. He also gives some information about an American stealth helicopter was seen leaving before their arrival, but they don't know the direction. Asagi ruminates on the details, but is roused when she hears Yamamoto start barking orders to ready a transport. Kurou has been found and needs attention. He was under the Ryumon building in a subway tunnel, just like how we left him. Asagi goes to him as he's being wheeled onto a stretcher to the chopper. He stops the men so that he may speak with Asagi. Even though his injuries need attention, he still finds a way to joke around with Asagi. In a flash, Kurou puts on a stern look and begins describing what happened to him, starting off with the fact that his body was possessed by Edwin Black. Classic vampire stuff with the mist form that goes into Kurou's body. A two souls, one body situation where information is assimilated into both beings. Kurou knows what Black knows, and vice versa. Kurou has learned that Oboro is a double agent and used Chinese Union resources in her betrayal to take over Nomad. The move was then to have Nomad replace Oboro's clone with the original vampire form. The hasty destruction of the labs also had information stolen by Black subordinates, which now means Nomad has data on both Saya and Asagi. Is it all a ploy to get Asagi out in the open? Probably. Edwin Black really does like his purple ninja a lot, and will try very, very hard to get her at all costs. Black then gets away by disguising himself as a Taimanin. Americans with Nomad, the Chinese with Ryumon, they're all running wild in Japan. The Taimanins are fighting a war on huge fronts and they're tired of losing. Asagi looks to her hand, the same hand that was united with the demons and defeated Saya. Asagi has survived due to the strength of it. With that power, she hopes to one day bring it forth again to vanquish all the evils encroaching on Japan. Looking out onto the sunset, she solemnly swears to make a comeback. And with that, the story ends. And that's Taimanin Asagi 2. It's pretty much everything you'd want in a sequel. It takes what you know and love about the first one that gets you hooked in the first place, and expands upon it. You want more punishment for the girls? There are many, many more scenes in the game and alternate routes. The violence has increased dramatically, and so has the abuse. Most of all, the expanding of the world of the Taimanins is incredible. Lilith really knew they had something going on and decided to just raise up all aspects with the sequel. Like, you could honestly play 1 to 2 back to back, like no stoppage. They're very close knit together and just complement each other nicely. This may be Asagi's namesake game, but we just can't neglect her sister. It's very saddening to know that the Sakura we see here in the VNs just goes by the wayside in future titles. She shows her strength here in this Arrow game. Her resolve grows stronger even in the face of such horrendous abuse and assaults. She's cunning, shows real growth, and even shows so far ways she can usurp her sister in certain areas. Her strength here to not only put her life on the line for her sister, but the will to live is fantastic. She's also not a total airhead. That's the whole thing as time goes on. When we get to Taimanin Asagi 3, we'll finally get Sakura at her best. Our Genki gal still has some growing to do. Asagi, of course, is a natural fighter, and we expect her to win. I always enjoy it when she's in the pit of despair and hating everything, but she always finds the room and energy to insult Oboro. There is not a single shred of respect for that woman. Asagi with her sharp tongue is always digging in. It proves another layer to Asagi's grit. Now she has awakened the strength of a demon and will use it as time goes on. Lilith knew they had something really incredible on their hands and did what any good sequel should do. They took the original and improved on it. The sequel here has just taken about everything into overdrive. Light on the plot in the first game, put all your lore and the additional characters in the sequel so that your world grows that much more. They got the core right the first time around. The Taimanin abilities for both those old and young improved over time. The Taimanins are not just a conflict limited to Japan like in the first game. Learning that this is a whole war to attain demon technology really just shows how it's all hinged on just a few people. It's what I really enjoy about 2. The geopolitics aspect, along with the whole spy game, is very fun to learn about. The length of the game is substantially increased. In an honest-to-God sense, the story content is just as much as the sex scenes. The leaps and bounds to go from eroge to plot game is great. It's all done in a way that really feels like a solid continuation from 1 to 2. Like I've played them back to back and it just feels like altogether one long VN. You're engaged with what's going on, and that's really important because it won't be 1 or 2 years until Taimanin Asagi 3. It's going to be 6 years until we see an Asagi game again. Why? Because there is a whole wide world of Taimanins out there, and we've only seen Asagi's perspective. There's several full-length stories released in between then, because next time, we're going to be going over the first of the world-expanding Taimanin games, Taimanin Murasaki.